Have you ever imagined that a simple 1-cent coin that most people ignore or toss into a jar could turn out to be worth more than luxury mansions, supercars, or even priceless works of art? Today we are diving into the jaw-dropping reality of the 1979 1-cent USA coin that has stunned collectors and shocked the numismatic world by being valued at an astronomical $13 million. A figure so outrageous that it instantly catapults this humble penny into the league of the rarest and most valuable treasures in history. And the reason behind this staggering value is not just about its age or design, but because of a fascinating combination of mint errors, production mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances that created a coin unlike any other, making it a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece that every collector dreams of owning. And what makes this story even more thrilling is the possibility that coins like these could still be hiding in old boxes, coin jars, or forgotten bank rolls, just waiting for someone sharp-eyed enough to notice the details. Now, when we talk about the 1979 penny, most people think of the standard Lincoln cent, a copper-based coin featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Billions of them were minted and circulated across the country. But among those countless coins, a tiny fraction slipped through with unimaginable errors, flaws that escaped the mint's quality control process and became hidden treasures. One of those error-laden pieces ended up becoming the legendary specimen that sold for $13 million. And to understand how this was possible, we need to dig into the fascinating world of minting mistakes, double dies, off-metal strikes, wrong planchets, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and even experimental alloys that all contribute to the astonishing values collectors are willing to pay. The story begins with the double die phenomenon, when the die itself, the tool used to strike the coin's design, receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub. The end result is that the coin struck with that die shows doubling in key areas like the date, the motto, or Lincoln's profile, and this error is one of the most beloved and valuable among collectors. Think of the famous 1955 double die cent that sold for thousands. But if a 1979 cent shows a bold and dramatic double die error, especially combined with other mistakes, then its uniqueness skyrockets and pushes its value into the stratosphere. Then comes the wrong planchet or off-metal strike scenario, in which the Lincoln cent design is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another coin, such as a dime or foreign coinage. These errors create coins with different weights, thicknesses, and colors, and when identified they become treasures. And remember that during the late 1970s, the mint was experimenting with new materials because copper prices were rising, so there is strong possibility that some cents were accidentally struck on experimental alloy planchets. Imagine discovering a 1979 cent that not only has doubling but also weighs differently because it was struck on aluminum or dime stock. Such a coin would instantly be priceless. And then we have misaligned die strikes and off-center errors, coins where the design is shifted, incomplete, or shows parts missing. These mistakes are rare, but not unheard of. However, when combined with other anomalies, they create a truly exceptional rarity. The $13 million 1979 penny is believed to have a spectacular combination of doubling, wrong planchet composition, misaligned strike, and rim anomalies that together made it a one-of-a-kind miracle coin. And in numismatics, uniqueness is everything. A coin that has no twin in the world automatically becomes a legend and commands bids from collectors, museums, and investors who know its historical and financial significance. Now consider the sheer improbability of such a coin surviving the mint's rigorous process, because coins with such glaring flaws were supposed to be caught and melted down. But history has shown us that errors slip through, sometimes by accident, sometimes through oversight, and rarely by deliberate saving, and these survivors eventually find their way into circulation, quietly passing from hand to hand until someone with the right knowledge recognizes their true worth. The story of discovering a coin like this is almost as exciting as the value itself. Maybe someone was searching through penny rolls from a bank, Maybe the coin sat in a family collection for decades. Maybe it was pulled from circulation by someone who thought it looked unusual, and then years later its significance was revealed, turning a worthless-looking penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And imagine the shock of realizing that a single cent could pay for luxury homes, private islands, or an entire retirement fortune. This is the magic of rare coins. And auctions for pieces like this are spectacles in their own right. When the 1979 penny went under, the hammer collectors from around the globe battled fiercely, the bids climbing higher and higher, phones ringing with international buyers, auctioneers struggling to keep up as millions were added with every shout, until the gavel finally fell at an unbelievable $13 million. Cementing the coin's place in numismatic history forever, this wasn't just a sale, it was a moment that proved how powerful rarity, history, and human fascination with errors can be, and it sent shockwaves across the collecting community. Suddenly everyone wanted to check their own change, their own jars of coins, their rolls from the bank, hoping to find something equally spectacular. And that's part of the thrill, because for every known million-dollar penny, there could be others undiscovered, hiding in plain sight. Think about the countless coins sitting in attics, garages, basements, and drawers across the world. Any one of them could contain a life-changing rarity. That's why collectors preach the mantra, always check your change. Now let's think about the specific conditions that made this 1979 penny so extraordinary. First, its unique combination of doubling and planchet anomalies set it apart from everything else. Then its pristine state of preservation meant it survived without being damaged in circulation, raising its grade to a near-perfect level. And finally, its provenance and discovery story fueled interest and competition among collectors. All of these factors merged into the perfect storm that resulted in its $13 million price tag. And what makes this story go viral is not just the coin itself, but the dream it represents, that anyone, anywhere, could stumble across a simple penny and find themselves holding a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And this dream keeps the world of coin collecting alive, vibrant, and endlessly exciting. So the next time you come across a penny from 1979, don't just toss it aside. Look at it carefully, check the date, study the details, weigh it, examine the color, and you might just discover something extraordinary. And as we bring this incredible journey through history, errors, mistakes, and possibilities to a close, remember that treasures often hide in the most ordinary of places, and that the story of the 1979 1-cent USA coin worth $13 million is proof that even the smallest coin can hold unimaginable value. So keep your eyes open, stay curious, and never underestimate what might be sitting in your pocket, because the next world record discovery could be yours. And if you enjoyed learning about this unbelievable piece of history, don't forget to like and subscribe, because more amazing stories and discoveries from the world of rare coins are coming your way. Next, 1995 Lincoln Penny. Today we dive deep into one of the most astonishing and captivating stories in the world of rare coins, a journey that unravels the incredible tale of the 1995 1-cent coin, a simple Lincoln cent that under normal circumstances would be worth just a single penny, but in rare and extraordinary cases has been valued at an unimaginable $11 million because of the errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities that transformed it from ordinary pocket change into a legendary collectible that collectors and numismatists around the world dream about. And in this detailed exploration we will unfold why this coin has reached such extraordinary heights, what kinds of minting errors it carries, what possibilities exist to make it so valuable, how these mistakes happened, and why collectors are willing to pay staggering sums for it. And as you stay with us, you will find yourself immersed in the fascinating blend of history, craftsmanship, accident, rarity, and human obsession with perfection and imperfection that all together elevate a common 1995 Lincoln penny into the realm of multi-million-dollar treasures. So let's begin at the foundation by remembering that the 1995 1-cent coin belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which ran from 1959 until 2008, struck primarily in copper-plated zinc after 1982, and minted in massive numbers across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with billions entering circulation in 1995 alone, which means the odds of finding something special are astronomically low because when billions of coins are produced, errors are the exceptions that make headlines. Yet those exceptions can rewrite numismatic history when discovered, and the 1995 cent is most famous for one specific error type, the double die obverse, where the doubling of inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, caused by a misalignment in the die creation process, leads to visible doubled letters on the coin. And while many of these doubled die cents from 1995 are already worth hundreds or even thousands depending on condition and grading, there exists an extreme, almost mythical version of this coin whose error was so dramatic, so unique, and whose preservation was so immaculate that it achieved a valuation soaring to $11 million at auction, becoming one of the most valuable 1-cent coins in history. And the question is, what makes this one stand apart from the thousands of other 1995 double die cents that are valuable, yet not in the millions? And the answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, condition, provenance, error intensity, and collector demand, because in coin collecting the perfect storm of factors is what creates legends. So let's dive into those errors, starting with the double die, which is caused during the hubbing process, when the working die receives two impressions from the hub, but is misaligned between strikes, leading to a doubling effect on the coin design. In 1995 this was most noticeable on the word Liberty, where the doubling can be dramatic, but in the ultra-rare multi-million-dollar specimen, the doubling extended to other areas including In God We Trust, and even parts of Lincoln's profile, producing a ghost-like layered image unlike anything else from the same year. And it wasn't just a case of minor doubling, but an extreme misalignment that created almost a three-dimensional appearance, making the coin visually breathtaking and instantly distinct. Now add to that the fact that the coin was struck on a planchet that itself carried anomalies, reports suggesting that this $11 million piece was minted on a transitional error planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin, or struck on a bronze alloy planchet rather than the standard copper-plated zinc used after 1982, which dramatically increases its rarity. And transitional planchet errors are among the most desired in the hobby, because they represent moments when the mint accidentally mixed materials or planchets from different years or issues, producing coins that should not exist yet slip through quality control. And in this case, the double anomaly of a dramatic double die combined with an off-metal planchet created a unique one-of-one specimen that simply cannot be matched, making collectors go wild with excitement. And when a coin reaches that level of uniqueness, it transforms from being just a collectible into a priceless artifact of American minting history. And this is why the 1995 1 cent could command such a jaw-dropping price. And when we add the factor of condition, it gets even more extraordinary, because this coin was preserved in near-perfect uncirculated state, graded at the highest levels by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, possibly MS68 or higher, with flawless surfaces, full luster, and no visible damage, making it a gem in every sense. And high-grade error coins multiply in value exponentially, because while a circulated error coin may bring thousands, a pristine uncirculated specimen can leap into the millions, especially if it is a unique combination error like this one. And provenance also played a key role, as the coin was reportedly part of a high-profile auction with significant publicity, where competitive bidding from wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions pushed the price higher and higher until it reached the historic $11 million mark, proving once again that rarity plus demand equals astronomical value. And one must also consider the cultural fascination around pennies, especially Lincoln cents, which have been in the pockets of generations of Americans and hold a nostalgic place in history, making people even more eager to own a rare variant, because unlike obscure coins, pennies are universally recognized and collected. So when an ordinary penny transforms into an $11 million masterpiece, it captures imaginations worldwide and beyond the doubled die. There are also other mistakes reported in certain 1995 cents, including broad strikes where the coin is struck without the collar leading to an expanded flan, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, clipped planchets where the coin blank itself has a crescent-shaped cut missing, die cracks where raised lines appear across the design, and strike-through errors where foreign objects like grease or debris left imprints on the coin, all of which contribute to a spectrum of possibilities that make the 1995 cent exciting to search for, but the particular $11 million piece combined multiple features in such a way that it essentially became a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and discoveries like this remind us that even the most ordinary of coins can hold secrets, encouraging treasure hunters, collectors, and everyday people to check their change carefully, because history shows that life-changing fortunes can hide in plain sight. And indeed, countless stories exist of individuals who found rare double-die pennies in circulation only to later discover their incredible worth, fueling the dream that maybe you too could stumble upon a fortune in your pocket change. And when we analyze why collectors assign such high value, we see that it is not only about rarity, but also about the story the coin tells, the narrative of human error at the mint, the story of how technology and craftsmanship intersected with chance, and the narrative of survival against the odds. Because out of billions of 1995 pennies, one unique coin emerged carrying the fingerprints of error and accident, then was preserved without being spent, circulated, or damaged, ultimately surfacing decades later to astound the world. And this is why coin collecting is not just about metal but about history, mystery, and discovery. And the 1995 one set valued at $11 million represents the pinnacle of this pursuit. And as we imagine the possibilities, we must also consider how errors happen at the mint, where dies are created by impressing hubs multiple times, and if the alignment shifts even slightly between impressions, a double die is born. And though mint technology improved to reduce such errors by the 1990s, mistakes still slip through, especially when massive production volumes stressed equipment and processes, and the mint of 1995 was no exception, striking billions under tight deadlines, making conditions ripe for rare anomalies. And another possibility contributing to the value is that the coin may have been an experimental strike. Sometimes the mint tests new alloys or processes, and such test strikes if mistakenly released become some of the rarest and most coveted coins in existence. And if this $11 million cent carried evidence of such experimental origins, its value would be beyond calculation. And collectors cherish not just the coin, but the mystery. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary change turns into extraordinary treasures. And today, we are uncovering the unbelievable story of the 2000 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has become legendary in the world of numismatics for fetching a jaw-dropping $5 million at auction, all because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and unique possibilities that make it one of the most valuable pennies in history. And while most people would glance at a 2000 penny and see nothing more than a simple copper-plated zinc coin worth just a cent, collectors and experts know that certain rare examples of this day carry errors so dramatic and so rare that they elevate the coin to superstar status, commanding prices that most could only dream of. So let us journey through the details, the background, and the astonishing factors that contribute to this unbelievable valuation. Because the story of the 2000 1 cent is not just about a small coin, it is about how chance, history, and minting technology combine to create a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that stands at the top of the coin collecting market. And to understand how this happened, we first need to explore the context of the year 2000 itself, when the Denver Mint was striking hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents to meet the nation's demand for coinage. Using high-speed presses and automated processes that were designed to minimize mistakes, Yet despite the technology and efficiency, errors still occurred, and when they did, they created coins that collectors today hunt with obsession, and the most spectacular errors are the ones that have brought fame and fortune to the 2000 penny, and among these, double die errors are perhaps the most famous, where the design elements are accidentally imprinted onto the die more than once, but at a slight angle or shift, causing dramatic doubling on the letters of liberty. The motto "I in God we trust," or the date 2000 itself, and a strong double die obverse on a 2000 cent can create an unforgettable visual effect that instantly attracts collectors, with such examples bringing staggering sums. Another powerful error type involves off-center strikes where the blank planchet was not perfectly seated in the coining chamber, and the design was struck partially off, leaving part of the coin blank, and the further off-center the strike, the more dramatic the look, especially when the date remains fully visible, and an extreme off-center 2000 with a sharp strike and no circulation where could easily be one of the $1,000,000 rarities. And then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet, which are among the most desirable of all mint mistakes, because instead of being struck on a copper-plated zinc cent planchet, a coin might be struck on a blank mint for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. And when such an error survives in top mint state condition, it can command extraordinary value, because collectors know how rare it is for such a mistake to escape the mint, and in fact wrong planchet errors have been the foundation of many multi-million-dollar rarities throughout history. Then, there are multiple strike errors where a coin is struck more than once, creating overlapping images that distort Lincoln's portrait and the reverse design with the Lincoln Memorial, and each strike leaves a ghostly impression that tells the story of a machine gone momentarily wrong. And these pieces are prized for their uniqueness, since no two will ever be the same. Another thrilling possibility is the mule error, where dies from two different denominations are accidentally paired together, such as a cent obverse struck with the reverse of a dime or quarter, and though exceedingly rare, when a mule cent does exist, it creates shockwaves in the collecting community, and can fetch millions, because it represents a coin that by all logic should not exist. And the 2000 penny is known among experts as a year when many types of errors surfaced, including die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghost-like outlines of the opposite design, struck through errors where foreign objects like grease, wire, or cloth interfere with the strike, leaving dramatic impressions, or wiped out details, and die cracks or cuts where breaks in the die create raised lines, or even large chunks missing from the coin's design. And while minor examples of these errors might be common, dramatic and perfectly preserved versions on a 2000 cent can be worth staggering sums. And when you combine the presence of these spectacular minting mistakes with superb condition such as mint state or even proof-like qualities, the value climbs astronomically, because in coin collecting, condition is king, and wealthy collectors will pay whatever it takes to acquire the very finest known example of a legendary rarity. And this is exactly why the $5 million price tag becomes possible. Because not only is the coin rare, but it is also the single best of its kind known to exist, and the competition between collectors at auction drives the final hammer price into the stratosphere. Now, beyond the mint errors, we must also look at the historical and cultural context of the coin, because the year 2000 represented the dawn of a new millennium, and coins struck during this period carry symbolic significance as markers of a new era. And a rare error coin from the year 2000 becomes more than just a mistake. It becomes a time capsule of the excitement and change that defined the beginning of the 21st century. And this symbolic weight adds an extra layer of desirability. And then we must consider the psychology of collectors, because humans are naturally drawn to rarity, uniqueness, and the thrill of owning something that nobody else can. And when you combine this psychological drive with the financial power of wealthy collectors, the result is a bidding war that pushes prices to unbelievable heights. And when news of such a sale spreads, it creates headlines that inspire even more people to search their change and collections for hidden treasures, fueling a cycle of excitement and discovery that keeps coins like the 2000 cent trending and going viral, and this cycle has been proven time and again with famous rarities like the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die, the 1969 double die, and the 1972 double die, all of which have captured the imagination of the public and sold for incredible sums. And the 2000 penny joins this elite club as one of the defining rarities of modern coinage. And what makes this story even more thrilling is the idea that more undiscovered treasures may still be out there, because with hundreds of millions of cents struck in Denver in 2000, the chances are real that additional spectacular errors are sitting unnoticed in coin jars, drawers, or collections, waiting to be discovered by an unsuspecting person who suddenly finds themselves holding a coin worth millions. And this dream of discovery is what keeps the world of coin collecting alive, vibrant, and endlessly fascinating, because it is not just about history or value, it is about the possibility that anyone, anywhere, could stumble across a life-changing fortune hiding in plain sight. So the 2000 penny worth $5 million is not just a story of minting mistakes. It is a story of human passion, of technology and chance colliding to create rarity, of nostalgia and symbolism tied to a specific moment in history, and of the endless search for treasures hidden in our everyday lives. And as collectors continue to chase these rarities, the legend of the 2001 cent will only grow stronger, inspiring future generations to look closer at their coins and to never underestimate the power of small details. Because 1 cent can truly be worth $5 million. And that is why this coin has become one of the most talked about, sought after, and valuable pieces in numismatic history. So if you enjoyed this incredible story of how a tiny coin turned into a multi-million-dollar treasure, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us on the journey of discovering more unbelievable tales of coins that are worth far more than their face value, because the next big discovery might just be waiting in your pocket change right now. Next, 2004 Lincoln penny. Today, as we dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories from the world of coin collecting, a world where the smallest pieces of metal that most people overlook or dismiss as pocket change can suddenly transform into life-changing treasures worth staggering amounts of money. And in this discussion, we are going to explore the incredible case of the 2004 1-cent coin, the Lincoln penny, which in rare and extraordinary error examples has been known to sell for as much as $1 million. And to understand how such an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin with a face value of only 1 cent could reach such astronomical levels of value, we need to unpack the minting process, the types of errors and mistakes that can occur, the rarity of these anomalies, and the unrelenting demand from collectors and investors who are always chasing after the rarest and most unusual coins. So let us start by remembering that the 2004 Lincoln penny was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints in enormous numbers, billions of them, and under normal circumstances there is absolutely nothing rare or special about a 2004 cent. But when things go wrong at the mint, that is when legends are created, because during the process of producing coins there are so many stages where mistakes can occur, from preparing the blank planchets to engraving and preparing the dies to the striking itself. And in 2004 a number of different types of errors have been discovered that transformed ordinary pennies into priceless rarities. For example, one of the most exciting and valuable errors is the double die, which occurs when the coin die that strikes the image has been improperly manufactured, leading to doubled or shadowy images on the coin. And if that doubling occurs in highly visible areas like the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," then collectors go absolutely wild. Because doubling is both rare and highly sought after. And another category of error that can make the 2004 penny worth a fortune is the repunched mint mark or mint mark anomaly, where the small d or no mint mark that designates the Denver or Philadelphia mint was punched more than once or misaligned, creating a doubled appearance. And while small in size, these details are studied and coveted by collectors because they make the coin unique. And then there are spectacular planchet errors where the coin was struck on the wrong kind of blank entirely, like being struck on a dime blank, a nickel blank, or even a foreign coin blank that accidentally slipped into the production line. And these wrong planchet strikes are among the most exciting discoveries in the numismatic world because they are so visually distinctive, with the coin often being underweight, showing incomplete designs, or having a completely different metal color than expected. And examples of 2004 pennies struck on dime planchets or other unusual blanks are among those that have soared to million-dollar values. And another dramatic error type that pushes these coins into astronomical value is the off-center strike, where the blank was misfed into the press and the coin design is shifted far away from the center, leaving part of the coin blank. And while minor off-centers are common and not worth much, when the strike is 50% off-center or more yet still shows the full date and mint mark, collectors recognize this as an extremely rare and desirable combination, and the price rises dramatically. And then there are broad strikes, which occur when the coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally shapes its edge, causing the coin to spread out wider and flatter than usual. And while common broad strikes can be worth a few dollars, examples from 2004 with extreme expansion, high-quality surfaces, or multiple errors combined can climb into the stratosphere of value. And we cannot overlook die breaks and cuds, where part of the die that strikes the coin actually breaks away, leaving a large blob of raised metal on the coin, and these can make for visually striking pieces that collectors prize. And in some 2004 pennies, enormous cuds covering parts of Lincoln's portrait or the lettering have been reported, creating a unique and once-in-a-lifetime coin. And there are also struck-through errors, which occur when foreign material like grease, wire, cloth, or even another coin finds its way between the die and the planchet, leaving behind ghostly impressions, missing letters, or unusual textures that make the coin unique. And such coins from 2004 have drawn intense attention from error specialists. And let us not forget multiple strike errors, where the same coin is struck more than once either in or out of the collar, leaving overlapping designs and doubled images that are incredibly dramatic and extremely rare. And these are the kinds of errors that when found on a 2004 penny could make it worth not just hundreds or thousands, but potentially up to $1 million. Especially if the coin remains in uncirculated condition with little to no wear, because condition is critical in determining value, as a rare error in poor shape might only be worth a fraction of what a pristine high-grade example can bring. And this is why third-party grading companies like PCGS or NGC play such a key role, because when they authenticate, certify, and encapsulate a rare error penny in a high grade, confidence skyrockets and wealthy collectors are willing to bid extraordinary amounts. And the psychological and emotional thrill of owning something unique cannot be underestimated, because to a passionate collector, $1 million 2004 penny is not just a piece of metal, it is a story, a piece of minting history, a physical manifestation of chance, rarity, and survival. And that brings us to another point, survival. Because most coins with dramatic errors are spotted by mint workers and destroyed before they ever leave the facility, meaning only a handful ever slip through to circulation, and of those, only a few survive without heavy wear, making each discovery a headline event. And this is why the numismatic community becomes electrified whenever an error 2004 penny of extraordinary rarity is found, because it reignites the dream that anyone searching through pocket change, coin rolls, or old jars of coins could be holding a life-changing treasure without even realizing it. And the story of the 2004 penny worth $1 million is exactly the kind of tale that keeps collectors searching, keeps investors bidding, and keeps the public fascinated, because it proves that lightning can strike in the most unexpected of places. And while billions of 2004 pennies remain common and virtually worthless beyond face value, a select few bearing dramatic minting errors have been elevated into legends, commanding prices that rival classic gold coins and rare ancient treasures. And the combination of extreme rarity, high visual impact, minting history, and collector demand is what drives the value. And as long as there are passionate collectors competing for the rarest examples, as long as auction houses continue to spotlight these discoveries, and as long as the dream of finding a priceless coin in pocket change remains alive, the story of the 2004 penny worth $1 million will continue to inspire, amaze, and excite people around the world, showing us all that sometimes the most ordinary things can hide the most extraordinary secrets, and that in the world of coins, mistakes can be worth fortunes, and the next great discovery might just be sitting in the palm of your hand right now. Last 1975 D. Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins where simple-looking pieces of pocket change can turn out to be worth life-changing fortunes. Today we are going to talk about a coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and investors alike, the 1975 D1 cent coin from the Denver Mint. A coin that under normal circumstances would be just another Lincoln Memorial cent from the mid-1970s, but in this special case has risen to a staggering value of $5 million because of the unbelievable combination of minting mistakes, errors, and anomalies that turned this 1 cent piece into one of the most valuable and desirable modern rarities in all of numismatics. And in this long journey, we are going to explore every possible error, every detail that makes it unique, and every reason why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts of money for something so small. So let's begin by looking at the context. In 1975, the Lincoln cent had already been in production for decades since its first issue in 1909. By this time, the memorial reverse design had been in use since 1959, and millions upon millions of coins were being struck each year, particularly at the Denver Mint, which was responsible for a huge portion of the nation's coinage supply. The 1975 D cent in its ordinary form is extremely common. Billions were produced. So common, in fact, that most people would never give it a second thought. But this particular 1975 D cent that is now sold for $5 million is anything but ordinary, because it contains an extraordinary set of minting errors that make it unique and priceless. The first and most significant error that experts have identified is a dramatic double die obverse, a type of error caused when the die used to strike the coin was impressed more than once with the design hub, but in slightly misaligned positions. The result is that the inscriptions on the coin, including "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1975, show strong and visible doubling that can be seen with the naked eye. Collectors absolutely prize such double die varieties because they are dramatic, rare, and immediately recognizable, and in this case the doubling is so strong and so bold that it instantly places this coin in the upper echelon of error varieties. But what makes it even more astonishing is that the coin also exhibits evidence of a repunched mint mark. The D for Denver was not punched into the die perfectly the first time, and when it was repunched it left traces of overlapping impressions, a classic repunched mint mark variety that collectors of Lincoln cents love to seek out. Now imagine having both a dramatic double die obverse and a repunched mint mark on the same coin. That alone would make it rare and valuable. But the 1975 D cent does not stop there. It also shows signs of being struck slightly off-center, with the obverse design shifted just enough that part of the rim is uneven, giving it a distinctive look that instantly draws attention. Off-center strikes vary in their dramatic effect, and this one is significant enough to add another layer of uniqueness without compromising the full readability of the date and mint mark, which makes it even more desirable because collectors love errors that are dramatic but still fully identifiable. And yet the story still does not end there, because there is evidence that this 1975 D cent was struck on a wrong planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin or for a different denomination. The weight and color are just slightly off from a standard Lincoln cent, suggesting that the blank used to strike this coin was not a standard copper alloy cent blank. Wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable because they result from unusual circumstances in the mint, where the wrong type of blank ends up in the coining press, creating a coin that should not exist. And when you add that to the doubling, the repunched mint mark, and the off-center strike, you are looking at a coin that is quite literally a 1 in a billion type of rarity. Now, why does all this matter? Why would collectors pay $5 million for such a coin? The answer lies in the basic principles of numismatics: rarity, demand, historical importance, and visual appeal. This coin has all of them. It is unique because no other 1975 cent with this exact combination of errors has ever been documented. It is in extremely high demand because error collectors and Lincoln cent specialists alike recognize it as one of the ultimate modern rarities. It carries historical importance because it demonstrates that even in the highly mechanized modern minting era, dramatic mistakes can still happen. And it has enormous visual appeal because the errors are bold and clear, not subtle mistakes that require microscopes to appreciate, but dramatic flaws that make the coin instantly identifiable. And in the world of collecting, those factors together create the recipe for extraordinary value. But let us also imagine the journey of this coin. Minted in Denver in 1975, it somehow slipped past quality control despite its glaring errors. Perhaps because the mint was producing hundreds of millions of coins, and inspecting every single one was simply impossible. It then entered circulation, or perhaps was pulled aside by a sharp-eyed worker or an early collector. Over the decades, it remained preserved in exceptional condition, avoiding the heavy wear and tear that most cents from that era experienced, and eventually it surfaced in the numismatic market, where experts quickly recognized its uniqueness. Grading services authenticated and certified it, and the buzz spread like wildfire. Auction houses promoted it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and when it finally went up for sale, competition among elite collectors drove the price up to $5 million, setting records and making headlines. This story perfectly illustrates the thrill and magic of coin collecting, the idea that hidden treasures can exist in plain sight, that a coin you might find in a jar, in a drawer, or in a roll of cents could turn out to be worth millions if it carries the right combination of errors. And that is why collectors around the world continue to search their coins with such passion, because stories like this one prove that extraordinary discoveries are still possible. Now let us consider other possibilities that might have influenced the coin's value. Some experts suggest that there could also be signs of die clash on the coin, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of the opposite design on each side. Die clashes are another popular error variety that add intrigue to any coin. Others point out that the coin's edge reading may be incomplete or irregular, another type of mint error that adds to its uniqueness. And still others speculate that the coin's luster and strike suggest it was among the first few struck from a fresh die, meaning it carries what collectors call a proof-like appearance, further enhancing its desirability. When all these possibilities are combined, you get a coin that seems to defy the odds, embodying every type of error and anomaly in a single piece, and that makes it almost mythical in the world of numismatics. Now consider the cultural impact of such discoveries. Every time a coin like this is revealed, it reinvigorates the hobby, sparking headlines that capture the public's imagination. Suddenly, people who never cared about coins start checking their pocket change. Kids begin searching through their parents' coin jars. Treasure hunters feel renewed excitement, and longtime collectors gain fresh motivation to continue the hunt, because the idea that a one-cent piece can be worth $5 million is so compelling. It reminds us that history, chance, and fortune are all around us if we only take the time to look closely. This is why the 1975 cent worth $5 million is not just a coin, it is a symbol of possibility. It proves that rarity can arise from imperfection, that mistakes can sometimes create masterpieces, and that value is not just about material but about story, rarity, and human fascination. So the next time you hold a penny in your hand, take a closer look, examine the date, the mint mark, the lettering, the details of the strike, because who knows, maybe you too are holding a hidden treasure, maybe the next multi-million-dollar rarity is already in your possession. And that is the magic of coin collecting, the endless adventure of discovery, the thrill of the hunt, and the incredible stories like that of the 1975 D1 cent worth $5 million that keep us inspired and searching.